Hello and welcome to today's webcast entitled The Strategic Business Blueprint. My name is Nate and I'll be your event specialist today. We have a handout for you to download for today's presentation. To access the handout, click on the Presentation Assets button on the left-hand side of your screen and click on the document to download. If you should need technical assistance at any time, please type your inquiry into the tech support box on the left side of your screen and click the Send button. If you're disconnected from the webcast, you can log in again using the login instructions provided to you. If you cannot log back in with these instructions, please call support at 866-271-7592. It is now my pleasure to turn the webcast over to Sukhan Shah. Sukhan, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Nate, and welcome everyone to our December 2011 webinar. We always want to get an idea of where everyone is sort of joining us from and where they are in the stage of their business. So, Nate, if we can launch the first poll, gives us a little bit of an idea of where everyone's coming from and what kind of where they are in their business life. Excellent. Looks like a majority of folks are business owners, and then good amount of entrepreneurs as well. All right, and let's see where everyone is located. Nate, if you can launch the second poll. Excellent. Thanks, everyone. So we're very excited. You also see on your consoles that we are integrated with Twitter. And if you choose to tweet, please use the hashtag NSBWebinar. That's hashtag NSBWebinar. And I'm going to give Tyler a quick introduction here, and I'll let him get started. Tyler Garns is a small business and internet marketing expert who's passionate about technology. Tyler has spoken to audiences across the country about email marketing, demand generation, lead nurturing, and marketing automation. He presented Marketing Prof B2B Forum, Inbound Marketing Summit, and the 12 Hours of Technology event, which was presented by smallbiztechnology.com. Tyler writes for popular media such as Small Business Trends, One-to-One Media, Marketing Prof, and the Infusionsoft blog. He is also an avid surfer who's addicted to killer waves, and we can verify that because we looked at Tyler's YouTube video page and saw him tearing it up down in Costa Rica. So without any further delay, I'll turn it over to Tyler, and we'll let him guide us through the next 40 or 45 minutes.
All righty. Well, thank you very much. I'm excited to be with you today. I appreciate you inviting me to come and present to the small business owners and the other people that you have on the line today. So let's get right into this. The topic is the Strategic Business Blueprint, which is basically a strategic way to plan your marketing and sales. And since we're at the end of the year 2011, I figured it would be appropriate to kind of frame this up in terms of your marketing plan for 2012. So you've got the presentation handout there. If you didn't catch that earlier, you can go to Presentation Assets on the left side of your screen and download the worksheet or the handout there. We're going to use that today. My goal is by the end of the presentation that you've got a decent framework for your particular marketing plan that's going to take your business to the next level. So go ahead and download that sheet and print it out and just have it on hand for the presentation. We're going to walk through what we call the perfect customer lifecycle, which I'll explain in a moment. And that perfect customer lifecycle is a framework within which we will build this plan. So as you're downloading that and printing it out, I'll get on with the rest of the presentation here. I wanted to highlight one really, really important thing. From the ADP National Employment Report that was published in September, it shows that organizations with 500 employees or more actually lost 5,000 jobs in the U.S. market during those 30 to 60 days. But people like you, the small business owners, the entrepreneurs, actually created 60,000 jobs. And, this is one of the things that's just really, really exciting to me. It's one of the reasons I love working at Infusionsoft and working with small business owners, because you are the people that are actually moving our economy forward. You're the ones that are making it happen. At the same time, there is the, unfortunate reality of small business, which is then a lot of small businesses fail. And we've probably all heard the stats. I've heard a million times that 80% of small businesses fail within the first 5 years. This is some data from an author named Scott Shane. He wrote a book called The Illusions of Entrepreneurship. He pulled together some census data that shows that it's not quite that bad, but 70% of the businesses that start are gone in 10 years. And this is, like I said, the unfortunate reality that actually, although entrepreneurs are moving the economy forward, there's a high price to be paid to have that activity happen. There's a high price that's paid even when the business doesn't fail. Oftentimes, families suffer, marriages suffer. The impact on the individuals is drastic, and so it starts, causing me to ask the question: why do small businesses die? If we can prevent small businesses from dying, if we can change this trend, then that has a very, very positive effect on the economy as well as our society as a whole and individuals' lives. And so we're going to talk just a little bit about why small businesses die, but we're going to talk even more importantly about what you can do about it. So I believe that small businesses die because of what I'll call a failure to thrive. The reason I use this term is because my wife's a pediatric nurse and I was pre-med in college, and so I heard this term a lot used in the medical community. It's used a lot with newborn babies when they stop growing. For whatever reason, sometimes this happens where a baby stops growing, and they call this failure to thrive, and it's pretty much an emergency situation when a baby stops growing. It's not a problem that they stop growing. It's a problem because that's an indicator that something's wrong and that the baby will die if the course of action is not changed. And this is the same with your business. Oftentimes I hear business owners say, well, I don't really want to grow. I'm happy with the way it is. The scary part about that is if your business doesn't grow, it will die. If you're not actively working on how to get new customers and how to move the business forward, it will die. And so you need to just have this kind of mind shift change, this mentality change, that you need to focus on the growth of the business and have this mentality of grow or die. So as you do that, you're thinking, okay, I need to acquire more customers and I need to do it more efficiently, and I should probably look at a marketing plan. And so you go out and you research marketing plans, and your typical marketing plan looks something like this. You've got an executive summary, you identify the challenge that's in front of you, you analyze your situation, and you can analyze that a bunch of different ways. What's going on with our company, what do our customers look like, what do our competitors look like. Let's do a SWOT analysis, or a strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats. You've probably heard that acronym. And then you've got your market segmentation, alternative strategies, short and long-term projections, conclusion, and an appendix, and all these things. And I see this, and I just want to vomit. I'm sorry. But for small business owners, this is not the easiest way to look at your business. This might work for big businesses. But for me, anything that has an appendix is just way too long. Imagine hiring a new employee and sitting them down with a 30-page document like this and trying to help them become familiar with the marketing plan. It just doesn't work. So I say scratch that. Small businesses need an entirely different approach that's much more simple and much more applicable to what you're doing. First, you need to understand the 3 black holes. These are the areas of opportunity in your business where that opportunity is slipping through your fingers, where it's there, but you're just not able to grab onto it for whatever reason. I'll go through these 3 black holes in a moment. You need to then map out your perfect customer lifecycle. This is the worksheet that you have that you printed out. You then need to, on that perfect customer lifecycle, identify the low-hanging fruit. What are the biggest areas of opportunity that you can tap into right now? And then you need to go through and plug those 3 black holes. In other words, you need to implement. You need to do the work to make sure that that opportunity is not slipping through your fingers anymore. The problem is, as you go out and try and execute on marketing tactics and marketing plans in today's world, it's extremely chaotic, and that chaos is growing. And you just wonder, well, what the heck am I supposed to do? There's pay-per-click, Google AdWords, Facebook, SEO, LinkedIn, Twitter, my website, my shopping cart, my email marketing system, all these different things, and those that set of tools is growing and expanding every single day. And so it just becomes extremely chaotic, and it's hard to cut through the clutter. And that's what I want to help you do today, is to cut through all that clutter to be able to identify the key areas you need to focus on that will actually make a difference. So let's first identify these 3 black holes and talk through what they are and what you can do about them. Black hole number 1 is lost traffic. So I want you to ask yourselves a very important question. How many people came to your website this month, visited your website, and then left without you capturing their information? In other words, you have no idea who they are and you have no way to follow up with them. That should be kind of a painful thought, that you're actually doing the work to drive traffic. Those people are coming, but then they're leaving and you can't follow up with them. For most businesses, this is 90 to 95% of their traffic. So that's a huge amount of opportunity that's coming, but you're not tapping into it. Okay, black hole number 2 is lost leads. So ask yourself this, how many of the leads that come into our business are we converting, and then how many that don't buy right away are we converting over the long run? Most businesses convert 3 to 10% of their leads into actual sales. But one study shows that 67% of businesses, 67% of people who respond to an advertisement will buy within 1 year. So if you're only closing 3 to 10%, what's going on with all those other people? In most cases, it's just a matter of follow-up, not following up enough to make sure that you close the deal. Black hole number 3 is lost customers. So invariably, some of your customers will come, make a purchase from you, and then make a repeat purchase from one of your competitors. One study shows that 68% of those people do so out of indifference. So this doesn't mean that you did anything wrong, that you ticked them off. It just means that you didn't give them a powerful reason to become lifelong fans and to make repeat purchases from your business. And so what we're going to do with this perfect customer lifecycle worksheet is we're going to start to identify where we can plug those holes and what we can do about it. At Infusionsoft, we've been working on this for many years with thousands and thousands of small business owners, and we really feel like there is so much opportunity there for small businesses, and you're left with just so little of it when you operate the way most businesses do. And we feel like we've cracked the nut on this particular problem through the perfect customer lifecycle framework. And it's proven to work over and over and over with our customers. So let's dive into the perfect customer lifecycle here. And you'll notice that on this worksheet and on the screen, there are 7 stages to the perfect customer lifecycle, and these are all things that you're familiar with. You know you're supposed to attract traffic and capture leads and follow up with them, convert sales. You got to deliver your service or your product and satisfy your customers. You upsell them and you get referrals. These are all things you're familiar with. But this framework becomes extremely powerful when you actually start mapping out the step-by-step process by which you are going to deliver that perfect customer experience for every single customer that comes in the door. So as we go through this exercise and as you start to fill out that worksheet, what I want you to do is remove all the constraints from your mind. And what I mean by that is when you normally start thinking about marketing ideas, it's easy to think pretty grandiose and start thinking, wow, if I really wanted to wow my customers, every time someone became a customer, I would send them a gift basket. Or on their birthday, I would send them a handwritten card. So you start thinking of all these great ideas, but then immediately you start restricting yourself because you start thinking about the financial constraints. That would be really cool to send a gift basket, but I don't know if we can afford it. Or I'd like to send that handwritten card, but I just don't know if I have the time to send that to every single customer, and how are we going to keep track of it, and all those types of things. And so I want you to remove all those constraints, and one easy way to do that is to think of only one customer. So imagine this. 2012 is about to start. You have one customer, and the success of your business is dependent on that one customer becoming a lifelong fan. And if you were able to dedicate all of 2012 to taking care of that one customer, what would you do? That's the question you should be answering. What would you do for that one customer? So since it's only one, you really can't worry about financial constraints or time constraints. Okay, so that's why I say think of one customer so that you can remove those constraints. Now later, after you put together the plan, then you go back and figure out, okay, how can I deliver this in a profitable and efficient way for every customer out there? Much better to go at it from that direction than to immediately start discounting ideas. So once you actually start building out your perfect customer lifecycle, it will begin to look like this. And don't worry if you can't see the exact detail of this chart. I'm going to give you a link to a download at the end of the presentation where you can download a bunch of these, what we call marketing automation plans. It's the step-by-step process by which you're going to deliver that perfect experience. So anyways, when you have this in place, you have exactly that step-by-step process. You have that plan that you can print up and put in front of all of your employees and say, hey, this is the plan. So let's not get distracted by the latest tool that comes out or the hottest tactic that everyone's talking about. We've identified the 3 black holes. We know that if we plug them in these ways, our business will move forward. So what we're going to do is walk through each of the stages of the perfect customer life cycle, and I'm going to talk through a couple of different ideas under each of those. And what I'd like for you to do is see if these ideas start sparking creative ideas for your business. These ideas may not apply exactly, but they should get you thinking about new and creative ways that you can plug the 3 black holes in your business. Okay, so stage number 1 of the perfect customer life cycle, and on your worksheet you can start jotting down ideas underneath each of these stages. Stage number 1 is to attract traffic. So let's talk about how you do that. The important thing to note today, in today's world, that content is really, really important. And so blog posts, videos, things like that that are exciting for your target market are the types of things you should be putting on your website so that they are attracted to your website. You can share those through social media and bring that social media traffic into your website. Online marketing like pay-per-click and SEO. SEO is really fueled by the content that you create. And then don't forget about referrals and partners and your existing customers that can also help you drive traffic to your website. Social media is a really hot topic always, so let me just address that a little bit. I actually get a little bit annoyed by all of the social media talk out there because so much of it is fluff. And the majority of people who talk about it don't actually know how to make money using social media. And so I've developed what I call the social media money formula. If you search it on Google, you'll find an article that I wrote that breaks it down in detail. But let's talk about the basics. The basic idea is you need to create some really compelling or interesting content. Let's just talk about it in terms of a blog post because everyone can understand that concept. So you write a blog post that's really great for your audience, very educational, super valuable. And what it should do is it should lead them to the next step, which the next step should be for them to request more of that kind of information from you. So ideally, you put out that blog post, and at the bottom of the blog post, you've got a web form where they can fill out the form, give you their contact information so that they can request more information. Once you have that set up, then you go share that on your social site. So what you're doing is you're going out to your social media sites and you're saying, hey, you know, I've got this great blog post, 3 ways to XYZ. And you give them the link. And then they go over there, they read the post, they like it a lot, and then you say, hey, if you like this blog post and you'd like some more information about this, fill out the form and we'll send you some more. And that way you're capturing the leads and you have an opportunity as well as permission to follow up with them. Once you've done that and you've followed up with them a few times providing value and education, now you've built a relationship where you have an opportunity to actually sell them. So it looks like this. You've got a tweet or a Facebook update or whatever it is saying, hey, I've got this great content. Drives them to your blog. In that blog post, you've got an opportunity for them to request more information, and then you follow up with them with a sequence of emails or phone calls or whatever it is. That's the right way to use social media. If you go out into the social media world and you try and sell, it won't go over very well. And you also need to realize that you need to do some work to build the relationships and build a brand in the social media arena of your particular expertise. All right, so let's move on to lead capture strategies. Most people are doing okay with driving traffic. When you go out and you research internet marketing strategies, everyone talks about driving traffic, and that's where all the talk is. And so most people don't have a problem with that. The problem really resides with black hole number 1, which is capturing leads on your website, or even capturing leads in person. We'll talk about that in just a moment too. But you need to develop a lead capture mentality in your business where you're always thinking about how can we offer something to our audience in exchange for their contact information and the permission to follow up with them. So you can offer tons of different things. You can offer free reports, videos, premium content on your website. For some service-based businesses, it's easy to just say, hey, request a quote. You can offer a demo or a free trial. If you have a commodity business, It's easy to offer coupons and contests, things like that. You can always offer live events, webinars, teleseminars, things like we're doing today. So let's talk through a couple of creative ways you can do that. On your website, of course, you can offer a free report, some kind of download. Lots and lots and lots of people do this, and it is successful. But I think it's great to think up more creative ways. So I used to have this website. Actually, I still have the website, thinkbigart.com, but I used to run it more actively. It was to teach photographers how to market and sell online. And what I did is I created a website test for them that they could enter in their website, and it would give them feedback on their website. And so this was a tool for them, a valuable tool that they wanted to use to get feedback on their websites, and it was also a lead capture opportunity for me. So think about what ways or what little tools or things can you create for your audience that would be valuable to them and also give you an opportunity to capture their information and follow up with them. Chick-fil-A, if you're familiar with that restaurant, it's a fast food chain, has chicken sandwiches. Well, they often have these little tabletop displays on the tables that say, hey, if you'd like a discount, if you'd like coupons, go ahead and text to this number. And so they're able to capture those leads that way through mobile devices. They're able to capture the cell phone number. And then what they've done is they've been very smart about this. On Tuesday afternoons, they know that between about 2 p.m. and 4:30 p.m. or 5 p.m., they're paying lots of people to run their restaurant, but barely anybody is coming in. They're in between those two main meals of lunch and dinner. And so they use the text messages now to send out coupons during those slow hours to drive traffic. So they say, chicken sandwiches 50% off for the next 2 hours, and they send that during that slow time. Now they've got a line out the door of hungry customers, and now they're not paying their employees just to sit around. So what ways can you use mobile and use these other creative ways to capture leads? Another mistake that I see often is with restaurants that sit-in restaurants where you go and you check in and you say, okay, we need a table for 4, and they give you this buzzer and they say, hey, we'll buzz you when your table's ready. I just think this is a huge mistake because everyone's already got a buzzer in their pocket. It's called a cell phone, right? And so what the restaurant should be doing is saying, hey, give us your cell phone number and we'll text you when your table is ready. Sure, no problem. Here's my cell phone number. Hey, and we can also send you occasional coupons and discounts for our restaurant. Is that something you would like us to send? Sure. Go ahead and send me those text messages. Now you've got permission to follow up, and you've got a cell phone number, and you can drip out those promotions in a very effective way. And so think about, like the restaurant, in what areas are you interacting or interfacing with your customers where right now you're missing out on opportunities to capture their contact information in exchange for something valuable and permission to follow up with them. If you're familiar with SEPHORA, it's a beauty store. They sell all kinds of beauty supplies, and they've launched this campaign recently, which is kind of cool. They have this beauty roulette. You put in your email address, you spin the wheel, and you might get a free lip gloss or free shipping or 10% off. And so with commodity items, it's really about the discount. But in the process of doing this, they're building their email list, and they're getting permission to follow up with these people. Okay, the next stage, once you capture those leads, you've got to follow up with them. All right? This was black hole number 2. How well do you follow up with your leads? As you do so, you need to realize that not everybody's different. And so it's really important to create custom campaigns for different groups of leads. The people that are hot and ready to buy right now, those are the 3 to 10% that most businesses close. But then there are a bunch of warm people that just aren't ready right now. They might buy in 2 months or 6 months or a year. And so you're going to follow up with them in a different way. And some people are just cold leads. Maybe they'll never buy, or maybe they're a long ways away from buying. You need to talk to each of those people differently. If you were to talk to them live, you would talk to them in an extremely different way. But if you're following up with email, or if you have sales reps following up with them, you want to create campaigns that are specific to each of those groups. Or maybe you want to slice and dice your list a little bit differently. Maybe you want to talk differently to the men on your list than the women, or the older people versus the younger people. Either way, you need to find ways to personalize your message and keep it always relevant and useful to them. When they're not ready to buy, that's okay. Realize that they will be ready at some other point in time. In the meantime, you can't continue to try and sell and sell and sell, and so you want to make yourself useful. Provide valuable information. This is, again, where the content comes in handy. Follow up with them in a way that helps them see you as the valued expert. And we talked a bit about social media earlier. One of the reasons I get a little bit ticked off with the way that people talk about social media is because the data doesn't support what they say. So let's dig into this just a little bit. This was a study that was done at the end of last year. During the holiday season, these were people who made purchases online. And so the researchers were trying to figure out what effect social media had on those people's buying decision. So they went and they asked them a really important question. What was the primary influence on your website visit where you made an e-commerce purchase? The majority of the people said familiarity with the brand. They probably just typed in the website, right, target.com. Or the next biggest group of people said promotional emails. That was driver number one after familiarity with the brand. But social media fell kind of low on the list. They're at 5%. And so the researchers went a step further and they said, okay, well, how would you prefer to hear about sales and promotions? The vast majority of people said promotional emails. So we're talking about follow-up, right? We're talking about lead nurturing. We're at that stage of the perfect customer life cycle. The majority of people are saying here, I want you to follow up with me, or in essence, I want you to tell me about your sales and promotions through email. Social media fell down on the list at 8%. What they're saying is, I don't want you to tell me about sales and promotions via social media. Okay? So the researchers, I think, were really trying to make a case for social media, so they took this a step further and they asked another question. Okay, of the social media websites out there, which one would you prefer to hear about sales and promotions on? Luckily, they didn't absolutely screw up the study, and they allowed people to say none, because the majority of people said none. We don't want to hear about sales and promotions in social media. Now, if you're going to do it, it appears here, at least for retail, online retail, that the majority of the people would prefer to hear about sales and promotions on Facebook versus the others. But the overwhelming message here is social media is not the place to follow up and try and sell people. It's a great way to build relationships and build expertise and drive traffic to your website, but it's not a selling platform. So don't get caught up in all of the hype about social media, and just realize that social media is a great traffic source. You got to then capture the leads, but it's so, so important to follow up. So remember this tool that I said I created for photographers? There was a tool that would test their website. Well, I was doing a little personal experiment and testing to see if I could basically build an entire business and launch a product to this audience solely on Twitter. Since I knew I was doing all this activity on Twitter, I collected these people's Twitter handle in my web form. So in addition to getting their email address, I also got their Twitter handle to test and see, hey, how could I follow up with these people via Twitter? Now, I just told you that selling through social media is not always the greatest idea, but I think if you do it right, or at least if you follow up with people the right way, in a personal way, then it can be extremely powerful. And so this was an entire automated campaign that was triggered when someone filled out the form. What would happen is they would get a tweet immediately sent to them. This was all automatic. They would get an automatic tweet that said, hey, this person just submitted their photography site to the overexposure 7-second test. Help out and review it. So I had built a good list of followers on Twitter that were all photographers, and they love reviewing each other's stuff. And so as soon as this tweet would go out, the photographer who submitted their site would get a bunch of reviews almost immediately. And so that was good positive reinforcement. A couple days later, they would get another tweet from me that would say, hey, welcome to Overexposure. So Overexposure was the name of the product that I was going to sell. Learn how to market and sell your photos on the web. And then there was a link to a page where I explained what Overexposure was all about. Now, after this, I had another email that went to them that explained about the product and that I was going to launch it soon and that it was going to be a few $100s, but they could get it free if they referred 3 friends. And I told them that I would be sending them an affiliate link via Twitter, so they needed to follow me so I could send it through a direct message. So if you're familiar with Twitter, direct message is like a private message. I can send it to one person and no one else can see it, but they have to be following me first. So that email went out, and then they would get this direct message that said, hey, welcome to Overexposure. This is your affiliate link. Be sure to tweet it. So now I'm leveraging these people to expand my message and to expand my reach and to kind of, in a viral way, start to attract a lot more people and a lot more traffic. And then after the launch actually happened, they would get another direct message or another private message from me saying, hey, Tyler, or Joe, or whoever the person was, the Overexposure launch is still going strong. Here's your affiliate link. Tweet it now and make some money. So this is a very effective way for me to expand my reach very quickly by leveraging the relationship that I had built with them on Twitter and asking them to help spread the word. Now here's why it's so important to follow up. Here's a study that was done with organizations that have sales reps making follow-up phone calls. Follow me here on the very, very top row. You can see here that 48% of companies that have sales reps making follow-up phone calls, sorry, that's a really ugly circle. I'm trying to use this tool to draw a circle. But 48% of sales reps will make only one follow-up phone call. And that's where 2% of the deals are actually closed. Now, you can see the trend down the line, and you can see that only 10% of companies out there will make 5 or more follow-up phone calls, but that's where more than 81% of the deals actually happen. So the question earlier about why are you only closing 3 to 10% of the leads that you get in the door is answered with this chart here. Because it shows that if you only follow up 1, 2, or 3, or even 4 times, that's the range of the close ratio that you're going to be working with. But if you want to be in the elite group of businesses that are growing fast and being super successful, what you need to do is follow up more. This doesn't mean call every day with a sales message. This means follow up, build a relationship, provide value, and essentially be there when the time is right. So important to note that people buy when they are ready to buy, not when you are ready to sell. Probably want to write that one down. People will buy when they are ready to buy, not when you are ready to sell. And this is why follow-up is important, so that you can stay in front of them and continue to be that respected resource for them until the time is right. In other words, most people just give up too soon. 81% of sales are made after the 4th call, by which time 90% of sales reps have quit calling. Maybe you don't have sales reps, or maybe you're not making phone calls, but even if you're doing it by email or social media, follow-up is so important. All right, the next piece is that you've got to convert the sales. If you're using sales reps, you want to automate the communications that they're sending. Think about it. They're answering the same questions all day long. They shouldn't have to sit there and write up the email every single time. Use templates. Automate that to a certain extent. You want to proactively handle objections. This is part of the purpose of your follow-up during the nurture prospect stage. That follow-up should be proactively addressing objections that come up in the sales process so that by the time they actually get to the close of the sale, those objections are already handled. And of course you want to provide supporting evidence for your product or service. Now once you get a customer in the door, it's so important to wow them and to create an amazing experience. I used to have a business where I was building websites for small businesses, and I'll tell you, after doing all the work to attract the customers, convince them to have me build their site, and actually building the site, and then having them change their requirements every time I came back to them, and rebuilding it, I was tired by the time I got a new customer. And I just wanted to relax. And so I go back to go find more customers. And what I should have been doing is spending time to build a lifelong relationship with those people. And so you want to welcome those new customers in, make it very personal and relevant to them. You want to be very systematic about quality delivery. So how can you wow that one customer that we were talking about earlier? So you're focusing on just one. How can you absolutely wow them? But then the next question is, how can we be systematic about this? How can we do this in a scalable way? And then you want to measure satisfaction and take action. And we'll talk about that in just a moment. Here's an example. Jermaine Griggs is one of our customers. He has a website called hearandplay.com. He teaches people how to play music by ear. Really cool products. And he has a new customer sequence of emails that go out to his customers that has done amazing things for his business. In fact, what it's done is it's increased his lifetime customer value from $90 to $375. So before implementing this campaign, on average, his customers, over the life of being a customer with him, spent $90. After this, they spent $375. That's why it's so important to wow your customers, and essentially this is a follow-up issue again. So important to follow up with your customers. He does this in a very friendly, personal way, all the while presenting new opportunities and new products and other things that people can buy, and believe it or not, they buy them. They were getting value out of his initial product that they bought, and so they continue to buy. So ask yourself, what would it mean in your business to quadruple the value of every customer? He's not spending any more money on marketing. He's not spending any extra money on advertising or staff or anything. He's got an automated follow-up campaign going out to every new customer, and that has quadrupled the value of every customer. How can you do that in your business? All right, the next step, which is part of Jermaine's strategy with his new customer welcome sequence, is to upsell customers, right? You've all seen this. You can upsell right at the time of checkout, or you can upsell later in the relationship. At the time of checkout, it's the classic, would you like fries with that? And with fast food, that's a perfect upsell. It's really easy. The people are already salivating. They've already requested a burger. And to put fries in front of them for an extra $1 or so is a really easy upsell. So what upsells can you put in front of your customers? Realize that you have done the work, the really hard work, of getting someone into buying mode. That is the hardest thing to do. You've done all the work to get them to the point where they're pulling out their wallet, they're shelling out cash for your product or service. If you've done all the work to get them to that point, you should take advantage of it fully. Now, don't get me wrong. You're not taking advantage of your customers. That's a very different thing, okay? You're giving them more opportunities to get value from your customer. Now, if you don't have a complementary product or service to sell, you need to find a partner whose products you can sell or offer at that point. Because, again, you've done the work to get those people into buying mode. Don't let that opportunity slip through your fingers. Okay, and lastly, we have our referral strategies. It's important to note that you get much better response when you offer both the referrer and the referral a discount or a bonus or whatever it is. Sometimes you don't want to discount your product or service, so you add a bonus or add some other type of incentive. But if both people are incentivized by the referral, then it works much better. And realize also that your referrals don't have to just come from your customers. You could use your existing traffic and leads to drive referrals for you. Let me show you an example. A few years ago here at Infusionsoft, we were offering this ebook called Master of the Moment. And you could fill out the form and download the ebook. But on the page where you downloaded the ebook, we had some additional information. We said, hey, look, we have a bonus that goes with this ebook. It's essentially an appendix, and it has 45 additional marketing samples, 14 powerful templates, all these additional things in this bonus section. And we'll give it to you for free if you just refer 2 friends. And then we gave them an opportunity to refer up to 5 there. And what happens whenever I tell people about this is they say, well, don't people just put bogus information in there so that they can get the bonuses? Yes, absolutely. A lot of people do. But who cares? They're free leads, right? And so although we got a lot of bogus information, and we just, of course, deleted those, we did actually end up getting a lot of good leads. And I did some analysis on this particular campaign just a couple months ago, and it turns out we have a lot of long-term Infusionsoft customers who came to us as referrals through this system. So this is a very effective way of leveraging brand new leads. These are brand new people that just came in and downloaded our ebook. And then they referred other people to the ebook, and that filled our funnel more with leads that we could leverage. All right, so let me take you through a couple of examples of real businesses walking through the entire perfect customer lifecycle. So this is a service-based business. This is a heating and air conditioning business, a customer of ours. And this is what their perfect customer lifecycle looks like. And don't worry, again, if you can't see the detail, I'll give you a link to where you can download these PDFs and you can look at them up close. But this was the marketing automation plan that was developed by one of our success coaches. Every new customer gets a success coach, and they go through this process of developing the plan. But what you'll notice here, and we can walk through this in detail, is that they've got every step planned out. So they know where the traffic's coming from. Online, it's pay-per-click SEO and social media. Offline, they do trade shows, and some people call in, and they've got a way to capture those leads at each stage. And then the people that come online and fill out the form, they're following up with them with an automated email campaign that drives them to a sales rep if they're interested. If they're not interested, it doesn't make any sense to hit them over the head with a sales message. And so we put those people into a long-term nurture sequence to continue to build the relationship until the time is right for them. Sales rep's job is to set the appointment. When they do that, they fire off an automated reminder sequence to make sure the person doesn't forget their appointment. Then we've got the installation and payment process that happens. That kicks off the new customer welcome sequence to make sure we wow these people. Now, we talked about measuring satisfaction and taking action just a moment ago. Here's where that happens. The new customer welcome sequence ends in a customer satisfaction survey. Here we're asking them in an email or in a web form, are you happy with our service or not? And if they're satisfied, then they automatically get routed to a campaign where they can request testimonials and referrals. If not, of course, we're not going to request testimonials and referrals from someone who's not happy, so they get routed to a customer service campaign where we ask what went wrong, and we try and figure out how we can make it right, and we try and turn that unhappy customer into a happy customer. So think about what it would take to deliver this. See how it's a very different process? Instead of going out and saying, hey, what are the hot tools out there, what are the latest tactics, and chasing those things around, you now have a plan in place, and you can figure out what tools to put in place. So this would take a website, an email marketing system, a contact management system, an email autoresponder, opportunity management, a payment processor, collections, referral tracking. You need to put all those things in place. Now that's a little chaotic, and so what you want to do is focus on all-in-one tools or comprehensive tools that help make this a lot easier. You want to streamline the process for your business and your employees so you're not stuck in the mire of the systems, but the systems are actually delivering on the experience for your particular customers. All right, let's go through another example. This one's actually a case study that we did. This was an online retail company that was selling educational products. They actually have spelling products. So they're working primarily with homeschool parents that are trying to teach spelling to their kids. What we did with them was a 3-month case study. My goal with them was to double their sales in 3 months. You know, this was a couple years ago. I was fairly new with Infusionsoft, and I was so proud of our software. I said, you know what? Our software can double people's sales. In fact, I think we can do it in 3 months. You know, let's go do it. And so they were already using an email autoresponder, and they already had a shopping cart. But since those two systems weren't integrated, they couldn't segment their list. They couldn't promote to separate groups. They couldn't upsell very well. So the business was growing, but it wasn't thriving. And so we put the perfect customer lifecycle in place, and here's what it looks like. And I'll show you in a moment the results. But the main thing is we put a lead capture device on their website. They had a web form on their website that was sign up for our newsletter, which is kind of the typical small business thing to do. But most people don't want to sign up for a newsletter. They're looking for specific information. So for these people, we put this form on the website that says, free report, 20 best tips for teaching spelling. So if you're a homeschool mother, you're trying to teach spelling to your kids, and this free report is promising 20 best tips for teaching spelling, that's a compelling offer. I'll give you my email address so that I can get that download. Now here's the interesting part. At this very point in time, they were starting to branch out and sell their products to school districts as well. And so in the form, they asked these people, are you a homeschool teacher or are you a classroom teacher? And depending on what they selected, they got very different messages in the follow-up. And so you can see in the perfect customer lifecycle that there's a branching at that point. Homeschool teachers got one set of follow-up emails, and classroom teachers got an entirely different set of follow-up emails. And that's because they have different needs. So what ways can you segment out your customers and your prospects so that you're talking to them always in a very relevant way? Now, of course, that follow-up there is geared towards providing value and education, but also selling and driving them to the shopping cart. Now, in the shopping cart, we don't just sell them the product they're looking for. Of course, we have opportunities for upselling. And so in their cart, they had 7 different levels of their spelling kits. If you put level 1 into the cart, it would then give you an opportunity for what they call Cobweb the Cat, which was an upsell that you could throw into the cart with the level 1. Now, after people purchase level 1 is designed to be consumed by the student within about 60 days, and so their follow-up after the purchase was then geared towards upselling them to level 2. And then, of course, after they purchase level 2, it upsells them to level 3 and on through all 7 levels of their spelling system. This is one of the emails that they get. After 60 days of being a level 1 customer, hey, we happen to be having a sale on level 2. If you buy it right now, you're going to get a discount. It's basically the message. So the results? Well, we actually doubled their sales in 72 days. Their prospect list grew from 5,000 to 10,000. They had built the list of 5,000 people over the course of about 18 months. And then in 3 months, we doubled that. Their average sale increased 16%. This is due to those upsells in the cart. They also implemented an affiliate program or referral program that brought in 49 additional sales. And so their number of sales, or the cart transactions, increased from almost 600 in the prior 3 months to over 1,200 in the 3 months that we worked with them. And so the reason I show you all this is because plugging those 3 black holes and ensuring that leads can't slip through the cracks and that the traffic doesn't leave without opting in, and that you create lifelong customers lifelong fans with your customers, that implementing the perfect customer lifecycle actually works. It can create a drastic difference in the growth trajectory of your business. It's so important to focus on these key areas and plugging those holes and creating that perfect customer experience for every one of your customers first, and then go find the tools and the tactics to deliver on that. If you do it the other way around, you'll always be chasing the latest tactic and the latest tool. So what would it be worth to you? To not have leads slipping through the cracks, to make sure that every customer hears from you consistently, to know that you have a proven customized strategy for your business, and you have one system with all the customer data and the automatic upsells, and you've got referrals happening, and really the peace of mind and the confidence in the ROI. The reason I ask you is what would it be worth is because it takes work to put all this in place. You have to implement, right? You've got that worksheet, and hopefully you've written down a bunch of great ideas, but those ideas won't do you any good unless you go implement them. Bill Glazer, who's a marketer extraordinaire, says the difference between an ordinary business and an extraordinary business is implementation. And so please, I'm begging you, you've got those ideas you've written down on the Perfect Customer Lifecycle worksheet. Don't let those just stay ideas. Put them in place. Remember your very simple plan for 2012, which is first to understand those 3 black holes, map out your perfect customer lifecycle, identify those low-hanging fruit, and plug the holes. In other words, implement and actually put this stuff in place. Now, I've got some bonus materials for you, like I said. If you want to access them, they're at this link, bit.ly/PCL-maps. That's bit.ly/PCL, or Perfect Customer Lifecycle, -maps. This will give you 8 different business blueprints that you can look at. They're across all different industries, so hopefully there's one that's similar to your business that you can look at and start to identify other ways that successful businesses, these are coming from very successful customers of ours, so you can look at ways that successful businesses are following up with customers, how they're capturing leads, and how they're implementing their perfect customer lifecycle. And hopefully this will give you ideas to model your marketing plan after. So thank you so much for being attentive and attending this webinar. I'll go ahead and open it up to questions. I'm not sure exactly how we do that, so maybe I'll just turn the time back over to you, Sukan, and we can go from there.
Yeah, actually, we'll take questions through the console, and we actually have a couple queued up, so we'll jump right in. But one of the questions from Joshua is, what type of marketing do you recommend for a company that does medical liens? So they're trying to get a hold of doctors, surgery centers, hospitals, people in the medical field. What are some strategies or tactics that you could recommend for them?
That's a great question. It's funny. I actually used to work in pharmaceutical sales. This was quite a few years back, and so I know this arena just a little bit. You've got a few different options there. One thing is to realize that when you're working in a B2B situation, typically your sales cycle is longer and it requires a lot more human capital. You can't automate quite as much. Although you can still have email campaigns and things like that, you can still be doing SEO to attract these people. But it might just require some feet on the street. It might require some face-to-face representatives out there doing some of the work. But what I would start doing, if you want to transition online and you want to start building a presence there, if you haven't already, I would really focus on the content first. The reason this is important is because it's not just going to help you online, but it will also help your face-to-face representatives if you use them to start driving business initially. So the more content you can create that is expert content that these people need, so you're talking to doctors, surgery centers, hospitals, you're talking to them about the financial aspects of their business, which is really important to these people. So if you can provide some very powerful content for them that helps them to understand their finances better, to understand what's going on, and understand the opportunities that they have, that's valuable to them. So I'd put that kind of stuff on your website, have that lead them into your funnel, and then also your reps could leverage that stuff live. So it has a dual purpose. But don't forget that the most important reason you put it on your website, actually probably the second most important reason you put it on your website, is for SEO purposes, right? And so you want to write that powerful content or create that powerful content, but ensure that you are creating it and presenting it in a way that the search engines pick it up, so that if a doctor goes and searches on medical liens or a hospital administrator searches on medical liens, that your stuff starts coming up. And that way you'll start attracting that traffic. They start seeing you as a respected resource because your content is awesome, and then you can start building that relationship.
Excellent. Thank you. Another question from Matt is, do you recommend a program that can handle some of the, the email automation or the opt-ins, things like that?
Yeah. So, obviously I'm here on this webinar from Infusionsoft. Infusionsoft is a system that helps you do all of that. It's an all-in-one comprehensive system that does your email marketing, your CRM, as well as your e-commerce. Now, Infusionsoft isn't for everybody. And so if you're kind of starting out with this online marketing and you're starting out with some basic email marketing tools, there are others I would recommend. They're much less expensive. Infusionsoft is kind of the premium product for businesses that are growing a little faster and a little more ahead of the game. But if you're just starting out with this email marketing stuff, there are great tools like Aweber, which I think you can get Aweber for $20 or $30 a month to do some of this automated sequencing. What will happen is you'll find that as you put all these tools together, that eventually the volume of traffic and leads that you're driving starts to create chaos because these tools don't work together. That's why we created Infusionsoft, because it's an all-in-one system that helps you deliver this stuff in a scalable way. But there's no problem with using something like Aweber or iContact. Combine that with a low-cost shopping cart like One Shopping Cart, and you've got a system there that will work. You'll just run into limitations as you grow.
Excellent. Another question, what tactics do you recommend for the legal profession potentially looking for bankruptcy clients?
Yeah, so the legal profession is an interesting one. We actually have quite a few customers that are lawyers or legal offices, and you run into some regulatory issues because there are certain things you can say and you can't say based on your state bar, I think, is the way it works. I haven't worked personally really closely with many of our legal clients, but I know that is one of the issues. And so your ability to self-promote and do those types of things in the legal industry is hindered just slightly by those regulations. But I know that a lot of our customers who are lawyers do exactly what we've been talking about, where they create content that their particular audience is looking for. So, for example, if you are a divorce attorney, you might create a free report that's 10 things you must know about divorce law before you hire a divorce attorney, or 10 ways to know if your divorce attorney is going to rip you off, or 10 ways to make sure you don't lose all your money in the process of a divorce, and you get the idea. So really this is a matter of stepping into your customer's shoes, understanding at a very deep level what are their pains, what are their fears, what are their wants and their desires that you can kind of tap into with the information that you provide to them. And then when they want that information and they download it and request it in exchange for their contact information, then you've got a lead and you can follow up. So content marketing with those types of things I've seen very successful with some of our customers.
Excellent. Another question is how often should people post to their social media channels?
That's a really good question. I have found, and this probably doesn't probably doesn't apply across different industries. I'm assuming that all industries are slightly different in this aspect. But I have found that if you are blogging less than once a week or once every other week, then it's just not enough to maintain that relationship with your audience. And if you're posting to your social media networks, whether it's Facebook or Twitter or whatever, less than once or twice a day, then again, that's just not enough. So that's where this content becomes really, really important, because you run out of things to say. And if you're just posting status updates, hey, I'm having lunch today, then that doesn't create it doesn't set you aside as an expert for your audience, and it doesn't build the relationship that you need. And so it's a matter of pushing out content and resources saying, hey, you should check out this, or hey, I have this free report, or, and commenting on industry news and things like that so that you become that resource.
Excellent. We'll do one more question. If people want to get the worksheet, some people weren't able to download the worksheet. Can they tweet you? Can they get a hold of you? What's the best way to get a hold of you?
Yeah, they can definitely tweet me, and I'll tweet out the link. I think the link, if I remember correctly, I created the bit.ly link on this a little while ago. It's bit.ly/PCL-worksheet. So the same link we had up earlier for the bonus materials, but instead of -maps, it's -worksheet. So bit.ly/PCL-worksheet. But yeah, go ahead and tweet me, and I'll tweet it out so that everyone has that.
Yeah, for everyone that's on the call, your Twitter handle is prominently placed at the bottom of the presentation, so yeah, it's there. Great. Well, we at Nevada State Bank thank you, Tyler, for your time this morning, and to the audience members, thank you so much for a wonderful 2011 and some great webinars. We look forward to 2012. Also want to tease everyone with a brand new NevadaSmallBusiness.com. Look for that to launch very, very early in 2012. We're excited, giving it a new look and feel. And hopefully all of our business clients and folks will be able to get a lot out of this website. So again, we really appreciate everyone's attendance, and Tyler, we appreciate your time this morning. Thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Yep.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. That does conclude our meeting for today. Thank you for your participation. You may now disconnect.